What's up everybody, Stacking Surfer here. I've got an awesome video for you today. I'm over at Maximum Security Safes and we're going to talk about safes today. How do you protect your precious metals? All right, so hit it. Stacking Surfer, I think I'm your best friend. Balances in your bank and stack. Okay, so we're going to go inside today and we're going to talk about these safes. I'm going to show you guys a bunch of different safes and see what you think. Are your metals safe? Do you have the right kind of safe for what you need? That is so loud. Anyway, guys, come and check it out.
How's it going? My name is Brett. I work for Maximum Security Safes and going to inform you a little bit today about safes, what makes them different, and what security ratings are. You might have some valuables that you're looking to protect. You might just have some stuff you want to keep the kids away from. There's all different types of needs and game plans and goals. And there's different safes to meet those. But anyways, so a great place that I like to start is going to be over here. Okay. So this safe here is going to be our most popular safe that we sell. Whether you own firearms or not, it's just a good size. Now we do have these lifted up a little bit so that we are able to move them around the showroom. So it's not quite as tall, usually going to be sitting right around here. But anyways, so this is what's called an RSC-1 rated safe. This one's from a company called American Security, which is a really well-known company in the safe industry. But anyways, to get right into it, so there's three main things that makes a safe what it is and differentiates it from another. So that's going to be the body of the safe, how it's constructed, and what's in it. Then you have the steel, how thick the steel plate is on the front of the door, and then you have what's in the door, right? We all see these safes, they have these bolts on them, which I'll demonstrate, right? But just because it has bolts doesn't actually necessarily mean that it's adding security. There's steel pieces that are inside of the door, and how thick those are and how that is designed is actually what determines whether these are adding security or not, or adding how much security. So this safe in particular, these bolts extend quite far into the body. A lot of other safes, they're about half that. So starting with the body though. So most safes are going to be like this, where it's just one layer of steel on the outside, which is about 1/8 of an inch thick. And then to give it fire protection, you have something called gypsum board, which is very similar to drywall. You can chip it with your fingernail. So in safes, there's a couple different modes of attack, right? They can cut through the side of the body of the safe. They can try to pry the door. They can drill through the door. Anyways, so if they try to attack through the side of the safe, well, they really only need a handheld saw and to get through this first layer of steel, and then it's just drywall basically. So they'll get right in. This safe here is this, which has 2 layers of steel. And then instead of using the gypsum board, it has a proprietary material that AMSET created called dry light. It's not concrete, but it's a concrete-like material. And it has stones and pebbles mixed throughout to ideally, gnarl their tools, break the drill bits, and whatnot. These series of safes have a upgraded version, which is called the BF2, which has this 1/2-inch liner, and then the bolt work is also a little bit different. But anyways, so that's a little bit about the body of a safe and what differentiates that. The front steel plate on the door, that's pretty self-explanatory. You obviously want it to be more is better. So this one has just about 1/2 inch of steel, which is really good. And then, so for the bolt work, I'm actually gonna bring you this way. We have a safe, it's in the same model line as that one I was just showing you, but this one has some plexiglass on the inside of the door. So again, this is a really good safe we sell a lot of. It's called the BFX line of safes from American Security. These are American made, just here in Fontana. But so this is bolt work.
Stop you for a second too.
Yeah.
What kind of items would you put in this kind of a safe?
So what's great about these ones in particular is you can really put any items that are valuable to you. Valuable is a special word though, right? It could be valuable sentimental, where it's not replaceable by money, even if insurance gave you money for your item being stolen. So it's definitely something you need to consider when you're going into choosing a safe and figuring out what type of budget you want to spend on it. That one over there, that's the smallest one in the BFX line. That's going to run, our best price on that is around that 39 mark. So let's just round that up to roughly around 4,000. But it's a great safe, and ideally buy a safe, buy it once, buy it right, and it'll last you forever. Gun safes in particular, something unique about gun safes, since it is a more competitive market, is that they have lifetime guarantees or warranties against burglary and fires. So if your house catches on fire or you're burglarized, whether they get into the safe or not, you get a full replacement for free if it's beyond repair, which most likely it will be. Okay. Other safes don't have that, but so this is bolt work, last frontier of what makes safes different. A lot of safes out there, these steel components are only about 1/8 of an inch thick, sometimes even less. But this, as you can see, you have 1/2 inch and 1/4 inch steel, and then there's also steel channels that are reinforcing the bolts. And so this one's quite secure. Even if they got through the front steel plate, there's another 1/4 inch steel plate in front of the lock. And even if they got to the lock, there's a spring relocking mechanism which will lock those bolts out. And then, keep your door not pryable. And then, you'll have to call a locksmith to open it up, but your contents will ideally and hopefully be intact. But so that's the 3 main components of safes. I think an important thing to understand are security ratings. A lot of people get confused. So this safe right here, being a BFX, is RSC1 security rating. That's the beginning. RSC stands for Residential Security Container. There's a company called UL, or Underwriters Laboratory. They've been in business for almost 100 years, maybe even more. But they do testing for a lot of different industries, but they specifically do the testing for the security and also the fire. So security, RSC1 is where that starts. That's a 5-minute test, 1 professional safe cracker with the blueprints to the safe with typical household tools. And I'll actually grab this here to give you a little diagram or a little picture help. So to dive more into what RSC1 and RSC2 is and what that means. So an RSC1 test is a 1-man professional safe cracker with the blueprints to the safe with these tools, which are commonly found in your own garage, for 5 minutes. So that's 5 minutes of attack time. So if they do break a drill bit, that timer stops and then restarts once metal touches metal again. And this is designed to simulate a typical home burglary. But RSC1 is quite a large scale. Where that starts and ends, there's a big difference. So just because 2 safes are RSC1 rated, that's good. That means you have that basic test, because if it doesn't have an RSC rating, that quite literally means with basic household tools, a burglar can get into your safe in under 5 minutes. But with it, right, you have a base level of security. But towards the top of that scale, it's 4 times as secure as where that starts. So that's just something to keep in mind. But you definitely, if you have valuables that you're looking to protect against burglary, in a worst case scenario, you'd at least want an RSC1 rating. RSC2, which is actually a very small scale, is going to be a 2-man team, 10 minutes of attack time with a lot, a lot more heavy-duty tools. And this is actually the same tools as a TL15 test, but a TL15 test is for 15 minutes, of course. But yeah, so RSC1, if you have valuables that you're looking to protect, you at least want that. With that said, there are lots of safes that don't have RSC ratings. For example, your big box store, Home Depot, Lowe's, Best Buy, whatever. And those are, in my mind, for a different purpose. Sometimes people aren't trying to protect themselves against burglars. They're just trying to keep the kids out. Maybe they have a firearm and that, just obviously need to keep the kid away from it, or, keep the nanny out of the goods, or whatever it is. But those serve a different purpose. But if you are trying to protect valuables against burglary, which unfortunately is on the rise these days, we have the tourist burglars, which are been talked about in the news, quite often. They go, and mainly coming from South America and Chile. They literally train for weeks, months. They come up here and they stake out houses. The old, we used to have people tell us all the time, oh, I live in a gated community. Oh, I have a dog. Oh, I have a $10,000 security system. Well, they've gotten past every single one of those, unfortunately. I wish it wasn't so, but it is, and we unfortunately hear about it all the time working here at a safe store. So, serve different purposes, but if you're trying to protect valuables, at least get an RSC 1 rated safe. But if you have substantial valuables, then you're really going to want to look into these specifications that we've talked about so far, as far as how that body's constructed, how thick is that steel plate in the door, and what type of bolt work does it have.
So Brett, a question I have for you too is, what I'd love to do is have you show us some of those less expensive type safes.
Sure.
Just as an option, because I know some people that may be watching this are just getting started into stacking precious metals.
Yeah.
And looking at other valuables. And so for them, they may not have a lot of budget right now. They may also be looking at something that's better than a sock drawer.
Right.
Or,
right.
Just putting it into a nightstand.
Absolutely.
So I'd love to see what you have option-wise for those and some of the pros and cons.
We'll start from...
And then I'd love to kind of see your TLs and see what those mean and why that's something people should consider. Because I'm not hearing a lot of people in the industry talking about those.
Sure.
And, some people are investing heavily into this,
right,
but they're not really doing what they need to do to secure it.
Absolutely. So we'll start at the bottom.
Okay.
So these would be what we call here your hotel safes. And these are quite literally like the types of safes that they install in hotel rooms, just kind of for daily use and whatnot. A good old knock test kind of says more than I can say. Really thin metal, just a couple bolts. It's a very simple lock. It's not going to keep a burglar out, but it'll keep the kids out. And certainly, as you were mentioning, much better than just keeping it in your drawer, right? It at least has a lock on it.
So like no fire, no water protection on this.
No fire protection, no water protection, no security protection. One step up from something like this would be something like this, which is really thick steel. Let's see if I remember the code to this one. I do. And this is actually designed as like a handgun safe, a heavy-duty handgun safe, but it has pluck foam, so you can, you can put lots of stuff in here. No fire protection, no security rating, but this is one step above those. From there, we will go over to this row. Now these were kind of, this is about the same as one of those hotel safes, but a little bit more dense, as you can hear. One step up, this is kind of where we start to go to the next step up. And you have a better lock and keypad. And so a little bit more space. This is from a company called Rhino. They're one of our vendors that we carry. And they have pretty cool looking safes, really nice. And this can kind of blend in with some furniture. Still no security rating, but we're going up. We have a couple different things. We would refer to, this is right here, and then up, what we're about to look at, we would consider a fire safe. So there's no security rating, but you do have fire protection now, and that's 1 hour. This is a 2-hour fire safe. So we have a couple different sizes and options because, again, people have different goals. And, people have different goals for what their, purpose of the safe is. Sometimes you're just trying to keep documents, and you're not worried about the documents getting, necessarily stolen, but you do want to protect them against a natural disaster. So that's something like this. Then, these are some more fire safes here. Also fire
Yeah,
safe.
these look like the Holland line looks. I think I've seen some people recommend those online.
Yeah, these are actually for a very low price point. At like starting at like our pricing on it's $369. This one's $429. Honestly, really not bad.
Will these do fire? Do these do security at all?
They're not security rated, but as you can hear, the body's a little bit more dense and a little bit better components. These have the military bar type of locking, bars, if you will. Some good little storage space. Good value for the money, 100%. Though I am a person that's gonna say, all right, we're spending $300, and by all means, if that's your budget and you can't go more than that, absolutely, get it and don't feel bad about it. But if you do, I would say, a safe is something that you buy not often at all. And so if you are going to go on it and you do have a budget, I would say, 20% of the value, you're only having to buy it once and it's protecting what's in there, ideally forever, right? Unless you run out of space, because safes do fill up quick. But
a lot of us have that problem.
You're right.
We fill these safes up pretty fast.
Exactly. But here at Maximum Security, we're definitely not trying to, have someone buy a safe that's not in their budget genuinely. So if it's not in your budget, you just need the best value for money. Yeah, something like this, sub $500 is really good, really good. Now, once we get above the $1,000 mark, then we have AMSEC's intro to a burglary safe. These ones are imports from China, but they're still decent. You got 2 hours of fire, and now as you can see, we have that RSC rating. These are pretty decent safes.
2 hour fire on that too.
What's that?
2 hour fire on that one.
Yep,
as well.
2 hours of fire. And the one I'm gonna show us next, and we have a shelf, one shelf. So this is a great little starter safe right here. I personally, I value, especially here in California, yes, most people are not living in the canyons or anything like that. You're living in a metropolitan area, and fire department's response time is pretty quick. So, 1 hour is really good. So I personally, if you're buying a safe for security in securing your valuables, I'd put a little bit more emphasis on the security of the safe rather than the fire protection. But fire protection does just kind of naturally go up as security goes up. But as we'll see right now, not always the case. So this one has a little bit of an edge with fire protection. This one does have 2 layers of steel in the body, which is great. As we talked about before, most just have the one, but it does use the gypsum board in the body. This one has something called a detent, which means there's a little button, so when you close the door, it automatically locks that handle, so you don't forget to. Now going over here, these are our most popular home and burglaries, or like fire and burglary safes that we sell. It's a real good package. These are also imports, but they are imported from Vietnam. Big thing with these is the coating on a safe is something to keep in mind once you're now getting into this more premium price range. The coating on the outside of the safe is what stops it from rusting. That would be a little bit of a difference that I find between that one here and this one here. Vietnam's build quality is really good. Been very, very impressed.
Is that a bigger deal for people that live in higher humidity areas?
Yes, yeah. If you're in Texas, East Coast, Midwest, stuff like that, where you're getting real weather, I gotta admit, California, we only have like 2 seasons. So, but yeah, if you're definitely in a more wet, humid environment, you might want to do some precautions, such as like placing a rubber mat or just a carpet mat on the bottom of your safe, so that it's not in direct contact with the ground. That's one thing you can do. Most professional installers like ourselves, we're going to use shims under the safe to level it out perfectly so the door's not swinging out or in. And then that also helps with not having indirect contact with the ground, but take as many precautions as you want. So, ultimately, right, with safes, you're purchasing your own peace of mind.
So these safes here, what do they range in size as well as price here?
Yeah, so smallest guy is going to be this guy, which is a 1512. So the exterior height on it is going to be just under 22 inches, about 17.5 inches wide, and about 22 inches deep with the handle. And then the largest one will be this big boy, which is a 4520, which is about 50 inches tall. I forget the width, but around 20 or so. But these are very similar in construction to that American-made gun safe that we looked at first. Layer of steel on the outside, layer of steel on the inside, door, that big, thick, almost half-inch steel plate in the front, and then as you can see, that has quite a few bolts, and it has good bolt work. It's not quite as extensive of bolt work as what's on the gun safes, but it's still real good. And these are great. The common burglar is most likely not going to have much luck with something like this. And this is where I would recommend starting. If you do have a budget and you just kind of want to buy something that's going to last you a really long time, great place to start.
So you're looking around $1,300 or so.
13, yep.
What's that big one run?
This one's 2,500.
2,500.
Yeah. Most popular size we sell is this guy right here for 2 even. But I personally, if you're going to start and maybe the amount of valuables that you have currently is not that much, my recommendation is get a safe that can fit twice the amount of stuff that you currently want to store in it, because safes fill up quick, as we're discussing. This guy right here for $1,500, I think, is a great deal. You have one shelf, and you have a good bit of space to grow into and store some things. But
so there's my hand for comparison in there.
Yep. And these ones have one bolt down hole. We of course always recommend bolting it down, especially if it's on the ground floor, because when you bolt it into the concrete foundation, it's a lot of added security, because a way that these burglars are able to pry your door open easier is by just pushing it on its back. They don't need to pick it up and take it. Obviously that's ideal, but if they can just push it on its back, then they have a lot more leverage and can use the whole body weight or multiple people's body weight to try to pry that door open.
How much is that one weigh?
This one is 342 pounds, which
so you're not moving that easy.
In my world is very light,
Still not moving it very easily.
But not easily, no. Some of these other ones are only 80 pounds, right, in one person, but no, it's sturdy. All right. So now, if you're storing, $50,000, $100,000, $150,000, we should be on an entirely different path, and that would be the path of looking into a TL-rated safe. So traditionally and historically, TL-rated safes are what commercial jewelry stores and coin dealers, collectible stores, they're going to purchase. And that's because since they're a commercial business, their insurance company is dictating that, hey, to give you this amount of insurance, you need this level of security. So TL15, Lloyd's of London would issue roughly a $300,000 insurance policy on that. TL30, roughly a $500,000 policy, or $600,000. Then we have TL30 by 6, which goes up to like $750,000 to maybe $1 million of insurance. So if you have a substantial amount of valuables, upwards of $50,000, $100,000, you'll definitely want to go with something with a TL rating. So TL is quite different, and this is, again, there's RSC1, RSC2, and then TL. Now, going back to the body of the safe, that's a big thing with these TL-rated safes. As you can see, the body is very thick. Instead of having the RSC ones that were at the top of that RSC1 and that are in that RSC2 scale, those have the dry light material, which is like concrete, but not actually concrete. This is concrete, and this is not just normal concrete, it's high PSI concrete, roughly 12,000 PSI. And 12,000 PSI refers to the actual hardness of that concrete. A lot of buildings are built using 8,000 PSI concrete, so you can imagine 12,000 PSI is quite strong. Also, in the door, you can see just visually, It's much, much more substantial. I think you have almost an inch of steel just in the door. And then the steel in the body is also thicker. These guys, you'll be very, very hard pressed for a typical home burglar to get into something like this. But this line from AMSEC is actually really great and super affordable. As you can see, it's really not that much different. This is a great starter size. Place this right in your garage, bolt it down, weighs 680 pounds. Just the one thing with TL rated safes, their footprint is a lot bigger than the storage inside, because obviously this door is going to take up quite a bit of space. So your storage space starts right here. So just because it looks massive, but it's not quite massive. But anyway.
So if someone has a substantial amount of value and they're looking at a difference of a $1,500 safe or even a $2,000 safe over there versus one of these, you're going to shrink down a little bit in size for this guy here.
Right. But it's going to be 4 times as secure. Yeah. And this will actually be a good time to take you over to a couple safes that we actually had. This was in a commercial business, and then we also have a gun safe that was in someone's home that was hit by those tourist burglars. But to show you, so cutting through the side of the safe is a common thing. You'll sometimes see safes that have internal hinges. You really don't need to worry about that. Internal hinge actually is really pointless. It also goes against your fire protection because now there's a gap for heat to get in. And as you can see here, even if they cut the hinges off, it has no effect on them being able to take the door off. And they did not get this door off.
They trashed that thing.
They did trash it. So TL15s and TL30s, as you can see, has sand, has
metal stuff in there.
Metal bits, rocks. It's that high PSI concrete. And then in the sides, you have these steel plates. And then some TL30s will have ceramic plates or ceramic bits in there as well. Just the harder materials as you go up in security rating are in the wall. And then here's a gun safe. And this is what a home burglary or a home burglar has been. This was actually in someone's home here in Southern California. And this was done relatively quickly. And again, they had a security system. They lived in a gated community in a well-to-do neighborhood. That's exactly where they're targeting, at least here in Southern California most of the time these days. But luckily, though, they did not get into this safe. And that's why, that BFX line has been a popular one for us. These two safes have sold a lot of safes for us because it just really puts into perspective what these burglars do. They don't have any regard or respect for your home or your valuables or your items. They're there to get in, get what they can, and get out. So they did not get into the safe. That's the good news. And gun safes, when you're considering, if you think that maybe RSC 2 rated safe would be good, or maybe even just the RSC 1 rated gun safe would be fine as far as securing what amount of valuables you have. One benefit that they have is they have the lifetime warranty against that burglary and fire, so free replacement. That's why we have this safe here. But with that said, say you spend $2,000 on a TL15 safe, they attack it, they destroy the safe, but in the event that they don't get in, which is they're most likely not going to get in, I think you'll be happy to go spend another $2,000 on a new safe because it did its job, right? You won't be happy to even go spend another $300 if that doesn't secure your valuables, though. So something to think about. So we saw the TL15s. Let's check out some TL30s. And that'll be this line over here. So these jump up in price. TL30s are going to start more in the $5,000 range. We just don't have one in stock right now. We have been honestly having a hard time keeping them in stock. But this has a high security package installed. So, and I'll tell you what that is in just a moment. This door is much heavier. I wish you could feel it. If you're in the Southern California area, that's one of the great things about Maximum Security Safes. We have this big showroom with these safes on the floor that you can touch and feel to kind of really get a sense of the difference. I think the tactile touch of these things really puts it, in your mind, how secure they are. Doors, obviously, very massive.
And this one has, 12 and a half cubic feet inside. So this is a good size safe.
Yeah, and for reference, here's my hand.
Yeah, there you go.
So, and these are again on pallets, just so you have a reference of height. But yeah, great safes. If you're not spending 10%, right, after you're above $10,000 or $50,000, if you're not spending 10% of that value on the safe to protect that, I think you should. I think you should rethink that. With not being a commercial business, there's really only one type of insurance policy that you can get as a homeowner to insure valuables at that level. They're extremely expensive per year, extremely expensive. And most of the people that come in wanting to buy these, they've had those insurance policies and decided, well, I'd really just, first of all, not like my stuff to be stolen. And two, I'll just put the money that I'm spending per year, which can sometimes be $10,000 to $20,000 for that insurance policy per year, into the safe. And this you'll have forever until you decide that you don't want it, or you move and you don't want to bother moving it, you just leave it with the house. So that happens a lot. But anyways, TL30s, again, have harder materials in the walls of the safe, and also they have much more steel. TL15s, a lot of those have about 1 inch of steel in the door. These have a lot of times 1.5 inches of steel. That's a lot of extra steel, and you can tell that by the weight. This big guy weighs 2,300 pounds. Weight is our friend. It means they're not going to easily put it on its back. They're not going to, probably just not, with this one, not going to take it in the car.
The other thing I hear some people talking about too is vaulting. Vaulting services. Not that I hear a lot of people using them, but a lot of people will do interviews with vaulting services, or it'll come up on other channels. And a lot of times that is going to cost you a percentage of what's being stored annually.
Right.
Whereas when you're buying a safe like this, you're going to pay it once, and then you're done.
Exactly.
And so for a lot of people, depending on how much money they have, you could end up being even smaller or a lower percentage than 10%.
Right.
Especially over time as you grow into these other safes. But these are other options that I think are really good.
Yep.
That are really secure. I mean, this. How long would it take a burglar to get into this thing?
A long time, and it depends what tools they have at their disposal. But given the fact, if this is bolted down to the floor, without them recreating a movie scene, which is most likely not going to happen, because while burglars and criminals are not the smartest of individuals most of the time, they still don't want to get caught. And trying to do a movie scene and tie up a chain and put it to a really powerful truck and haul it out of your garage, I mean, not likely.
The TL15 that was all trashed,
yeah,
where they've gone into the side of it, how long were they working on that one?
They had a couple days, yes.
They had a couple days and they didn't get into it?
They did not, no.
Okay.
And I think anybody, especially as a non-commercial business, if you have a TL30 safe, most likely anybody that would be capable of getting into this safe, no offense, they're probably not going to bother with your house. They're probably just going to go to a small branch bank, a actual jewelry store, an actual coin store. It'd be a much better use of their time and energy. They'll probably actually get this stuff and, not have all the risks of trying to burglarize a homeowner. So anyways, probably not going to happen. Not going to happen. With a safe, you're ultimately buying your peace of mind. If I haven't said that, you can sleep like a baby with a TL30. And if that's not enough for you, there is one more level.
Big Daddy. Where's Cadillac?
This is going to be a TL30 by 6. So TL15 and TL30, that actually refers to the security rating of the door. Obviously, as we've seen, you still have much more secure, body of your safe and all that. But that TL30 rating and TL15 rating is actually the door. TL30 by 6 is the step above TL30. That means every single side. All right, so above TL30 is TL30 by 6. So this is the big boy. Now, TL30 again, just and TL15 that's what the door's rated. The body, of course, is still also stronger than the lower ratings, but this is TL30 rated on every single side. So these safes use oftentimes a mixture of ceramic and cobalt. Cobalt bits, ceramic plates, metal, steel plates. Anyways, a little bit different, company to company. But this guy is 4,500 pounds and is massive. This is actually a gun safe. But again, gun safes, right, can be very modular. So you can have all shelves, or you can have space for firearms. And you can have space for a lot of firearms, specifically with this one. This one does have lights, it's just not plugged in. You can put 2 rifles on the door with this door organizer, 4 handguns. So yeah, this thing, even this door is massive. You wouldn't want to swing it too fast. It'll get away from you. But so that's TL30 by 6. There are some smaller options like this guy, which is right around the 9,000 mark. This is with the high security package. So there's a high security package. What that is 3-way bolt work. So there's bolts going more ways, and there's something called a glass relocker, which instead of a spring, it's a glass, more sensitive. Lock those bolts out for extra security. And yeah, pretty much that's it. There's one other level above TL30 by 6, which is TR TL30 by 6, which is torch resistant. That's really above any normal consumer's needs, but that's pretty much it.
To get in touch with Brett and Maximum Security Safes, see the link below, as well as their information. And again, as always, thank you for coming. And if you haven't done so already, please hit the subscribe and the bell icon, as well as the thumbs up, and you'll be notified of all the awesome videos coming. And until next time, peace out.